We'll start with an opening statement from Helen and we'll move on to questions. I will ask that you guys mention your affiliation when you do ask questions. Helen, whenever you're ready, go ahead.
Hey guys. Um, First, I just want to say thank you to Coach Welker and the whole sport staff to make this opportunity possible for me and to welcome me back into the sport that, I really thought I was done with for good because when I graduated, I felt that I just had these two options of either taking that fifth year right away or being done. And so where I was at the moment, I thought I was done and I was just going to be content with what I had achieved. I never thought in a million years that I could take a year off and come back. And so when that opportunity presented itself, I just found myself unable to turn that down. And and it was really a funny story because the only reason that's happened was because I was visiting Missouri for a previous teammate's wedding and was visiting the gym while I was in town. And that's how this opportunity kind of came up. It was really random, but a really I felt really lucky that all of that lined up with that timing. Um, yeah, I'm really excited to compete for Mizzou one more time, and that's all I have for my opening statement.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Helen. We'll go in order of when hands were raised. We'll start with Alex.
Hey, Helen, Alex Schiffer with the Alumni Mag, Mizzou Magazine. I got two questions for you. You were backpacking in Europe during your year away from gymnastics. If you can just kind of go into that, where'd you go? What'd you see, etc.?
Yeah, I think I traveled 14, 15 countries. It was a lot. I was jumping different places every 2 or 3 weeks, staying at hostels and backpacking with my sister, actually. It was plans that we had made when we were stuck in quarantine together. Um, and I really, it's hard to describe it altogether because every place was so different and the things I did in every country was so different. But it was really, I think, after being, gymnastics is an all year sport. There isn't really an off season. Even when we're not competing, we're training, and so it was really exciting to kind of just have this open open schedule, open plan. I just kind of went where I wanted to go without any specific plans, and I learned how to surf. I worked at a hostel. I went hiking a lot. I really kind of just got to explore who I was outside of the sport, which was really exciting for me.
Instead of naming all 15 countries, just where did you start and where did you finish?
I started in Japan and I finished in Finland.
Wow. And then just following up on the wedding, just how quickly after the visit to the team did your mind start to come around to returning for one more year? Like, was it pretty quick or was it kind of gradual that you kind of had the epiphany of coming back?
It happened pretty quick, honestly. Pretty much the first day I visited the gym, I hopped up on the beam and I just could see, I went to see if I could still do a front aerial just to see, and it actually went really well. I had a lot of fun. I ended up doing most of my skills on the beam that day. I was very sore the next day, but no regrets. And Shannon made the offer that day, kind of an offhand remark, like, oh, you still have that year, you could come back. And I thought he was joking. I didn't take it seriously. But then he kept talking about it. And pretty much within that week, by the end of the week, I was laying in bed at night, unable to fall asleep, thinking, wow, what if I did beam again? I couldn't fall asleep because I was so excited at the idea that that was possible for me to re enter the sport. So, pretty much after about a week, I realized I wanted to pursue it, but it wasn't a couple of weeks until we figured out logistics and whether this was really possible.
Kyle, go ahead.
Kyle Helms with ABC 17 here in Columbia. Can you just take me through, the decision-making process of deciding to come back and then what excites you about joining this team that Shannon has this year?
Like I said, it was really just this excitement that I felt thinking about the possibility of coming back that helped me make the decision that I wanted to do it. When I was weighing the pros and cons, thinking about, I had all these plans coming back to Chicago. I had lined up an apartment to move into in the fall and all sorts of things that I felt like logistically, why would I do this? This is crazy. I pretty much shocked myself even considering this as a real option. Um, but I just couldn't let it go. And I was talking to my friends and my families, and I was calling people thinking, should I do this? And everyone was just like, what do you want? And this whole past year that I took off traveling, everything was about figuring out what I want to do outside of the sport, who I am. And I felt like, okay, I I feel confident that this is what I want and I'm in the right place, I'm in the right time, and we'll figure out the logistics as we go. And in terms of excitement, I mean, I feel like Shannon covered it. This team is really amazing. We're looking really strong. There's a lot of depth. There's a lot of really good energy. And I'm so excited to be a part of that and to see where it's come from my freshman year, showing up to meets with us and our moms, pretty much. That was it in the Mizzou arena. And to where it is now, seeing pictures of this entire place filled, packed to every row, and the excitement that people have for not just Mizzou gymnastics, but gymnastics as a sport has been really amazing to see. And so I'm so excited to be a part of that just a little bit longer.
Nate, go ahead.
Yeah, Nate Salzman with the Man Eater. You talk a lot about training on beam and getting back there. Is there any hope for bars? Have you messed around at all in that event, or is it just beam?
I did do a couple giants a few months ago. Um, but no, I think beam is where I can really help the team the most. And, coming back after a year off, it really minimizes impact on my body. And so just due to my past knee injury and my back injury, I think this is the best bet for me and how I can help the team the most while staying as healthy as I can be.
Karen, go ahead. Karen, you got you on mute
Karen,
again.
Karen Steger, Rocket Nation. Hello. So I guess my question is, how have practices been going? And were you done with traveling abroad when you just made the decision that you were coming back?
Yes, I had just finished traveling. I made sure to get back to the US by June purely because of that wedding. And so when I came and visited, I had just finished traveling for a year straight for about a week. So that's also why jumping into fall season would have been really tough for me in fall training because I really just got back and so I was still kind of getting my bearings. Um, Training has been going pretty great. It's a little bit weird because I'm going to the club gym on my own time when it's pretty much empty. So it's just me and the lights buzzing and whatever music I pick. And I'm doing just beam for about an hour or so a day. And it's really fun because I've never gotten to train gymnastics completely alone. But it sounds like it wouldn't be fun, but I'm actually just on the beam being silly goofy without anyone watching. I can kind of just dance up there and have fun and see what I can do. Um, yeah, but I also get sent kind of updates of where the team is and what they're doing. And so, as we've been progressing, okay, we're doing half routines. So I make sure I train half routines. And now I'm doing full routines. And so that timeline has been pretty structured for me, which is really helpful. And like Shannon said, we do FaceTimes now. And the first time we FaceTime, I busted my butt. I got really nervous, but we're doing a lot better now. Because that's the one downside of training on my own is that I hadn't had eyes on me while I did my gymnastics. After a year off, it's very different. So but visiting the gym each month has been really helpful, and everything is going really well.
And to follow up on that, have is it muscle memory with your skills coming back, or how are you doing in that process?
Definitely part of it's muscle memory. I trained these skills for over 10 years, and so that doesn't just go away. And I also stayed pretty active while I was traveling. Like I said, I learned how to surf. I was hiking a lot. I actually got yoga teacher certified. I kept stretching a lot, so I kept my flexibility up. And so a lot of it was just building back up some endurance and a little bit of strength. But yeah, like I said, the first day I visited the gym, I went up and I did my aerial series, and I was like, oh, that's still there. That's pretty cool. Which is part of the reason why I felt it was possible to come back for this year.
Mara, we'll go over to you.
I'm Maura Palafis. I'm affiliated with Mizzou Athletics. I just wanted to ask, I feel like there's a lot of gym-oriented questions right now, but just I think it's amazing that you went off and traveled for a year and you did what you yourself as Helen and not like a gymnast wanted to do for once. Like, how do you think that's affected you as a person outside of being a gymnast?
So that's a big question. It was really daunting to take that year off and travel. I mean, so many people go right into more school or into careers, and it's really scary doing this big thing saying, I don't have a plan, I don't have anything that's furthering my career. or, anything that I could put on a resume. I was just, I'm going to go and have fun and explore the world. And it felt really kind of silly in some ways in certain settings. But I also felt that if I didn't do it now, I would never do it. And so I'm really grateful that first I even have the ability and the privilege to be able to do that. And second, that I built the courage to do it. And a lot of that is thanks to my sister as well. Having someone with me when I traveled was a big help. But yeah, it was, I mean, it's still affecting me now. And I wouldn't say that that journey's done, but it definitely was the beginning of me figuring out who I am outside of the sport. And that's a big part of how me re-entering the sport, kind of figuring out how I fit into my life now, it not being my entire life, but still being really important to me, and how I can bring my personality and my passions for other things, not just, on the beam, but to the team culture.
Would you say you have like a favorite memory from that trip or like a specific like occurrence that happened? You're saying you did all this cool stuff, like learn to surf and yoga, but was there like a certain story or fun thing that stuck out throughout the entire trip?
I think surfing was probably the most memorable journey for me in the grand scheme of things, because I mean, learning yoga was not the most difficult thing for me given my gymnastics history, but surfing was so hard. And I went in thinking, I'm an athlete. I can do this. This will be easy. Give me a week. I'll figure this out. And for 4 straight weeks, I was just face planting into the water, getting absolutely wrecked by these waves. And it was really humbling. I was like, okay, wow, you still suck at a lot of things, Helen. You have a lot to learn in this world. And it was really like such a challenge. And it made me so motivated that I was supposed to leave that place in a month. And I stayed an extra month just so I could learn how to surf better. And that really made me feel like, okay, I still have transferable skills from gymnastics. Like, okay, I enjoy a challenge and I can take up whatever I decide to do and just go at it until I figure it out. And so that also gave me a lot of confidence coming back again after a year off, thinking, you have the mental, not just the physical strength, but the mental strength to face any challenge and really persevere through whatever difficulties I face. But yeah, it was really humbling and also really fun. Um, Second month I was there went a lot better, and I was actually standing up on some waves. But yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you.
We'll go over to John.
Hey, Helen, John Lieber, KMU8 in Columbia. Just quick question, two. One's really quick. If you can, whose wedding were you in town for? And then was there any point throughout your journey across, multiple continents, where you were missing the gym, missing being on the beam, missing doing anything in the gym, and you were thinking about it? Or did that kind of just come back as you got back into the practice facility here?
Right, the wedding. Sorry, first half of the question. The wedding was Adelina Hupendick. She was my roommate and teammate all 4 years at Mizzou. She's one of my closest friends that I made in college. And yeah, that's all on that. And then, what was the second half of the question? I'm sorry.
Sorry, was there any point during your journey backpacking that you were missing being in the gym?
Right. Okay. Yeah, of course, I missed competing and I missed doing gymnastics, but I kind of really fully closed that book in my brain. And so there was no moment where I thought, I wish I could go back. I really didn't think about it, because for me, that just felt like a waste of energy and thought when felt that I had moved on. And so I was really focused on my year of travel and having fun and just exploring everything outside of gymnastics, that it didn't come into my brain that much about coming back and doing gymnastics again. Every once in a while I would throw a flip and see what I can still do and do a handstand and have fun. But yeah, again, it was really like a huge shock to me to even consider coming back again when Shannon brought it up, because I never thought of it as a possibility the entire year.
We'll go over to Alex.
Yeah, three quick ones for you. Has Adeline taken any credit for your comeback, given she was there? If that wedding doesn't happen, we might not be talking to you right now.
She hasn't quite verbally taken credit, but I'm sure she's thinking it. And I would give her credit for sure. If her wedding was another year or even a few months later, this probably wouldn't have happened. She's really the reason I came back. When I finished my travels, that was a clear end date for me because I was like, I'm not going to miss this wedding. And so that's why I came back to the US when I did, and it's why I was in Missouri and why I visited the gym and how this opportunity came up. Because Shannon wouldn't have called me that summer and said, why don't you come back? Because I would have just been like, you're silly. And I wouldn't have considered it. Right. But going back in the gym, seeing the team, seeing gymnastics, being able to get up on the beam and see what I can still do, it was all those little moments that just happened that kind of came to this opportunity and this decision to come back. So it
And
really
then
was, yeah.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's fine.
And then what's your master's going to be in with you coming back to compete? Haven't already graduated.
Yes, I'm not doing a master's. I'm actually just re-enrolling as an undergrad to get some more prereqs done for physical therapy school. At the time when I graduated, I took all the classes needed for occupational therapy school, but since I've taken my year off, I've decided I don't want to pursue that path anymore. And so there are prereqs for physical therapy school that I need to fulfill. Actually, one of the reasons too, when I visited the gym, I was mentioning Shannon, my future plans was going back to school for a semester to take physics and another biology class so that I could apply. And so that's kind of why this also matched up.
And then you talked about being at the gym for an hour a day, just and you're not coming back until December. Like, what are you doing with yourself the rest of your time right now?
Well, training is more than an hour. I'm up on the beam for about an hour, but I also still need to do some weightlifting. I need to do a lot of um, I have a lot of prehab exercises to keep up with to re-strengthen things for my knee, a lot of preventative exercises. So I'm really in the gym for a little over 2 hours. And then I'm also coaching at my club gym, so that's taking up a good chunk of time. That's why it kind of works out because I just go to my club gym a few hours early. I do my own training and then I coach from 4 to 8:30. Um, but the mornings are pretty open, and I'm kind of used to having no schedule and no job for the past year, so it doesn't feel like a whole lot of time because I went from having the whole day and the whole week off to having only like half of morning off. But like I said, when you're off, I figured out a lot of hobbies and passions, and so a lot of my day in the morning is I like to cook food for myself, so I take my time with that. I read a lot. I go outside, I go for walks, I like to rollerblade, all sorts of random little hobbies that I'm still kind of building for myself in the mornings.
We'll go over to Nate.
Yeah, so obviously you've only been gone for a season, but in that year, so much has changed with Mizzou gymnastics, new coaches, a lot of new athletes, and things have changed in gymnastics in general. So how's that kind of been like, coming back and meeting new people, but also like the changes you've seen in the sport in just this past year?
I felt like in the time I was there, I was feeling that change happen already. You know, my senior year, we had broken a record on our attendance at a meet, and it was jam packed. We were sitting there for like 3 hours after the meet signing autographs. So I felt like I was there for kind of the beginnings of that really big change, and I've seen it in the past year on social media continue to grow. But of course, being in that and being there for it is really different, and I'm really excited um, to kind of jump back in and see just how much more it's grown since I've gone in 1 year. And like you said, a lot of new people, a lot of new coaches, and it was definitely a little bit of a shock when I first visited. There were just so many new faces and names I didn't know in this place that felt really both familiar but also so different in a lot of ways. But I think what's been really helpful is those visits each month. I've really gotten to meet all the team, get to know everyone a little bit, and they've all been really welcoming and super enthusiastic about my comeback. And so, at least for now, it doesn't feel like too much of a shock. But I'm sure my first home meet at Mizzou will be like, oh, look at all these people. I'm excited for that moment.
And
Um,
then quick
yeah.
question, with in terms of your skill selection on beam, is it the same routine from 2023, or is there anything new or different you're putting in?
I changed some small things. I did re-choreograph almost the whole thing, so I'm super excited for that. I changed up all the dance and my mount and my dismount, and but my main like my series and my jumps, the kind of the skeleton of it's about the same. But there's definitely it's dressed up a little bit differently, and I'm excited to show that off.
What's the new dismount?
I'm doing what is it called? A gainer pike off the front of the beam.
Nice, good.
Yeah.
We'll go back over to Karen.
So can you take us through what Shannon's reaction was when you were like, "Hey, I'm coming back," and also what the reaction was like of the team when you told them? And then finally, how does it feel to know that like now this news is out?
I'm not sure Shannon was that shocked. If he was, he didn't show it. I think he, I think some part of him knew that the offer was going to entice me. Um, I think out of everyone, I was the most shocked myself. I mean, when I told people, people were shocked, but I was like, no, trust me, I am more shocked telling you this news because I cannot believe I made this decision. Because again, I really did not think of it as a real possibility, and when it shocked me that week that I wanted to do it again, we kind of kept it quiet. We were like, let's not, announce to the team before we make sure that this is possible. And so there was a few weeks there that was just me and the coaches kind of having a little calls and figuring out if this is going to work out logistically. But when he revealed it to the team on a team meeting, I came back from work and my phone was blown up by text from the team like, "Oh my God, we're so excited you're back! This is crazy," and that was really exciting. And I think that was honestly that was more exciting to get that enthusiasm from the team and the coaches than it was even this past week just announcing it to the general public. As much as I, love the hype videos and the comments and enthusiasm from the gym internet. Um, Ultimately, I care more about the team being happy that I'm there and the coaches being excited for me. But yes, it was also weird hiding it publicly in general. And so I'm really glad that that's out because there would be times I just wanted to post something new that I was working on Beam or some training, and I was I gotta keep secret, can't talk about it yet.
Thank you.
We have time for one more question if anyone has it.
What's one
All right.
goal
Oh,
this
go
comeback
ahead.
that is there like any specific goal or like something you want to accomplish this year? Is it just to go out there and have fun?
Main priority definitely is just to go out there, have fun, be a good teammate, and just really enjoy every moment that I can being in the sport again. I of course would really love to get that 10-0 on Beam just that once. Definitely my biggest bucket list item that I didn't achieve while I was there. But ultimately, like Shannon always says, you got to focus on the controllables. And ultimately, I can't control what the judges decide and what they see. But I'm going to focus as hard as I can on presenting the best routine I possibly can. And hopefully one of those times both judges will agree on no deduction.
We'll finish off with Alex.
Yeah, do you remember where you got lunch with Shannon and where this whole thing started when you were passing through for the wedding?
It all happened in the gym. I was visiting while the whole team was having summer training. So it wasn't over lunch. We were just chatting while I was visiting practice, and he was in the middle of coaching actually, and there was just this little offhanded side conversation that really just led to this whole other series of calls.
Awesome, thank you.
So thank you so much for your time, Helen. Again, we would love to see everybody out at our open practice tomorrow morning from 10 a.m. to noon. We look forward to seeing you there.